He's a noted attorney. He's a broadcaster, Richard Harris. We're going to talk about the Truth and Liberty Coalition and that illegal immigration is still very much on the front burner, even though some people are acting like because the border flow has stopped that the problem is over. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Fawn. Thanks
Hey,
for having me.
you're welcome. Thanks for being here. I don't for 1 minute think this is over. I'm very proud of the Trump administration's crackdown to stop the border crossings. I know the cartel's freaking out because we're finding their tunnels and we're stopping their mules. But when it comes right down to it, these so-called attacks on illegal immigrants by ICE, I'm shocked, dismayed, and a little bit befuddled at the fact that it's happening, that we have Democrat leaders who are demanding we bring these criminals back to America after they've been deported because they think they have some sort of right to be here.
Well, I'm shocked, befuddled too. It's insane. The words they use are really interesting, right? An attack by ICE. No, This is law enforcement. These are criminals, right? Would you call the police attackers if they arrest a murderer? No, it's just ridiculous, the games they're playing. And Trump is definitely doing the right thing in enforcing the law.
Well, sovereignty is one of the few actual jobs the national government has. Our sovereignty is their job, to make sure that we are safe from those who would do us ill, which is why we dropped the bunker busters. It's also why we have to make sure our borders are secure. Now, we have people in this country who are never vetted, who are running around, who are doing these horrible things to little kids and women and murdering and dealing drugs and robbing stores and doing terrible things. And I want to remind people, we understand, Richard and I both get it, that there are a lot of good people who did come into the country, but the fact that they did so illegally means that they need to go back to start and not collect $200 on the Monopoly board.
Yeah, that's right, Fawn. This really the fundamental issue here is the rule of law. We need to enforce the laws that are on the books. You remember Biden and Harris, they claimed, we need to overhaul the system. No, you don't need to overhaul it. You just need to enforce the laws that are there. Mm-hmm. And these laws are there for good reason. This open border policy in 2023 alone, allowed 35,000 criminal illegal aliens into the United States with no tracking, no supervision, nothing. And, when people started to hear these stories of women being raped and murdered and children being abused and all of this other kind of stuff, they had enough. And that's part of why Donald Trump was elected. And I believe that the American people are tired of this and are going to see through the Democrat smokescreen on the whole thing.
Well, and I know that they do, but they have some who will still stand out there and protest, even though they know they're on the wrong side. They just have such a deep hatred of Donald Trump. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh, it is weird. I went to an event the other day, and there were protesters lining the street, and I just thought, you guys are just nuts. Of course, they're paying them, these yes, protesters, too. They're busing them in and everything else. So we just need to kind of, not pay too much attention to those folks, because who knows why they're there.
Okay, so we've got to have a solution, though. Anybody who's broken the law, and it's a misdemeanor to enter the country illegally, so you've broken the law, that does require you show up for a trial. I mean, or a jury trial, or I don't know, a court hearing, if nothing less. You may still get a work visa. You may be able to stay here and work for a little while. But when your visa expires, if you don't leave, you've again broken the law. And a lot of these people that they're arresting, or who they're arresting in California, they say, he's been here 19 years. When did his visa expire? 13 years ago. Then what's your problem?
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't really matter how long they've been here. What Trump is doing is a reset of the rule of law here. It's time to clean house. It's time to get these people back to the countries they belong in. And then moving forward, let's enforce our immigration laws. And, I want to say this too, Fawn. We live in a republic. Laws are passed by our elected representatives. We don't, get our way by violent protests and, breaking windows and burning cars and all this attacking police officers. Liberals, if you want the law changed, then you do it the lawful way through your elected officials. And in the meantime, the president has a constitutional obligation to see that the laws are faithfully executed. And this is America. This is not some, Russia, some banana republic or something like that. So, we need to enforce the law.
We do. And the thing is that ABC just had a story on, they attacked my sister at work. She was going to work, and ICE attacked her because they knew she was here illegally. They didn't attack her. They arrested her. But she's still going to get an immigration trial. They act like everybody who's taken in handcuffs and sent to a prison in El Salvador. That's not what's happening here.
Right. It's not what's happening. Under, our immigration laws have due process built into them. So anybody who wants to contest the fact that they're here illegally, they have an opportunity to do so. They can have a lawyer. They can present evidence. And they can even appeal in a way. They have a certain amount of time to appeal. So, this is all left-wing media hype, and it's not that there are some cases maybe that are legitimate where we've wrongfully deported someone, but we're talking about 11 million to 13 million people here illegally. You can't do a full-blown jury trial in 11 million cases. This is a crisis, and Trump, I think, overall is doing the right thing. And we need to support him in it. Yeah,
and the criminal element needs to be shipped out immediately. No trial date. Just get them the hell out of here. I mean, if they're, come on. They raped a 12-year-old. Get them out of here. We've got, they're turning into sex offenders. They're hanging out at parks. They're stealing your babies. No, not happening. But I do want to say that it's too expensive for people to immigrate to this country. It's far too expensive. And I know people who have done it. The process is long, and I'm okay with it being, long enough, 3-4 years. But some people have been waiting 7 to 10 years and paying thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, I don't think it should be easy, but it shouldn't be quite this hard.
Yeah, it's harder. It's kind of crazy. I think in some ways we've got it backwards. We make it harder on the legals than we do on the illegals. Right. It's kind of bizarre. Yeah. So it shouldn't be necessarily easy or necessarily cheap. This isn't, some vacation thing. But at the same time, it should be reasonable and fair. So that's fine if we need to look at that and clean that up a little bit, make it more efficient. That would be great.
I bet a lot of these illegals who do come into the country legally, or legals who come in, they're the first ones to speak out and saying, y'all are making us look bad. Now we're getting picked on and people are telling us to go back where we came from, and we did it legally, and we're frankly sick and tired of y'all acting out. So when their own community starts to say, we don't like what you're doing, they still don't care.
It was really interesting in the 2024 election, wasn't it, that the Hispanic vote actually had dramatic increase for Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because folks that have immigrated legally, they look at these people that just come over the border willy-nilly and are taking jobs and welfare benefits and everything else and thinking, well, this isn't right. I came through the front door lawfully, and you're coming in the back door, and this isn't fair. And it's not fair. And so, that's a good argument there.
And it cracks me up that they say, well, all the fruit's going to rot in the field. Yeah, we kind of have machines that do that now. So that's really not very true. But what is the Truth and Liberty Coalition, Richard?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Fawn. Truth and Liberty was founded by world-renowned Bible teacher Andrew Womack, and we're an extension of his ministry. But our goal, our objective, is to educate and unify and mobilize Christians to stand for truth in the public square. So this whole idea of secularization and separation of church and state that has been taken to crazy extremes, we're standing against that and spreading the word that no, our God calls us to be salt and light in the culture. And so that's what we're doing, is educating and unifying and mobilizing believers to take their place along with all American citizens in the public square.
I love that. A lot of the Hispanic and a lot of the illegals who came over are not just Hispanic. They're from all over. They're from China, Iran, they're
Yep.
from the Ukraine, they're from Russia, they're from everywhere. They're coming from everywhere, and not all of them like us. They're here for nefarious reasons. But I do know some who are here who absolutely love it here, who escaped and got asylum because of horrible things that were happening to them in other countries. The government was taking their homes. They had nothing to eat. They had nowhere to go. They were like, we're going to die. We have to go. And I'm okay with them being here, you
Of
know,
course.
and slowly getting their citizenship and getting their court dates. Now, those are the people that I don't want rounded up. But if you came to this country and you're living on all sorts of benefits and you feel like you're entitled to something you've not even paid into, you're part of the problem.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible how much we are spending on illegal immigrants. California, for example, got a budget deficit of $73 billion, and yet they're spending $22 billion on illegal immigrants, with welfare and college tuition and education and unemployment benefits and health care of $8 billion alone. It's just nuts, and we've got to stop that.
Yeah, and the poor people in Altadena whose houses burned down in the wildfires because they can't structure their money correctly to have water. Who cares about them? Let's pay for illegals. But I, for one, as a taxpayer, am overwhelmed with how much money goes to illegals. It's overwhelming. I know they're human beings, and I don't want them to suffer. But they should have known when they came here illegally that eventually it was going to catch up with them.
Well, that should be, but they were probably told the lie that, hey, open borders, come on, it's a free day in El Norte, and I don't mean to be whatever, but we all saw those massive caravans. And, those didn't happen by accident. Somebody's organizing that stuff. And, so who knows what kind of messaging they received. But it doesn't really matter because the law is the law and we need to enforce it. And creating all these incentives for people to break the law is national insanity. And, I think the tide has turned on this. The Trump administration needs to stand their ground, work the process, and I believe that in due season, this craziness from the left is just going to be revealed to be exactly what it is, and that we're going to get our country back.
I think Trump's pretty good at standing his ground. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Yep.
So, all of the people who have come across who are disturbingly well organized, like you said, not very organic at these protests. Any one of them who spits on a cop or hits a federal officer or anything should go straight out of the country. There shouldn't even be a court case. Just get them out of here. If they are going to do those sorts of things, they need to go. But in America, law is the cornerstone for civilization, and we need to continue. All right, Richard Harris is the attorney we've been speaking to. He's with the Truth and Liberty Coalition. Where can they find that online, Richard?
Yeah, just go to truthandliberty.net, truthandliberty.net, and you'll find our website and resources to help you get equipped.
All right. Illegal immigration is on the front burner because we're still rounding them up. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Fawn.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.